What's going on, guys? Bullish290 coming back at you with another video. This time we're going to be going over the 2021 Chiefs draft class. Draft just wrapped up yesterday. No, Saturday. Can't remember. Saturday. So I officially have had time to go through the class, research as much as I possibly can, or somewhat, or at least watch some stuff on some of the guys we got, give you my analysis. I haven't really went over any other draft class fully, but I'll get into what the division's gonna look like, stuff like that. Maybe some more off-season moves, since it's still technically the off-season. So to start off, I'll just go over the Chiefs draft class. They did really good. All right. Now I'm also putting like Orlando Brown kind of in this draft class because technically he's the first round pick for this year. I kind of said the same thing about 2019. Yeah, 2019. Frank Clark was technically the first round pick since we traded it away to Seattle. 2019 draft class pretty good too. Same thing with the 2020 ones. But to get into it, with our first draft selection, we took Nick Bolton, linebacker out of Mizzou. Loved the pick. I thought we were gonna go Actually, I'll get into that a little bit later. A lot of people said Jabril Cox, and Jabril Cox wouldn't have been too bad. But obviously, I'm not going to argue with Brett Veach over his selection. Brett Veach has drafted some solid guys, especially on defense. You look at Jerry Sneed last year. Mike Dana did pretty good off the edge, or at least playing defensive end. There's no one really in the 2018 class that really stands out. Other than Dorian O'Daniel, that's about it, really. 2019, we got Mecole Hardman, Juan Thornhill. A lot of good picks there. And obviously last year, some good choices. So, for the Kansas City Chiefs, Nick Bolton is an immediate upgrade, and I think immediate starter. I think he can be a starter. At 31, I don't know how many good offensive linemen we could have got. Too, also, because, Orlando Brown has proven he's going to play on the last year's deal. Probably franchise tag, try to work out another deal with him. He said that he has wanted to stay in Kansas City, and the reason, a lot of people bringing up he has character issues, and it's weird. He doesn't. He really doesn't. The reason why he was, he wanted to be traded away from the Ravens because he wasn't playing left tackle. Now, when you listen to him talk about it, and when I was listening to him, at first I was confused with what he's trying to get, because his dad played right tackle for his whole NFL career for the Ravens, and his dad told him, don't watch me, watch the left tackle, because his dad thought the left tackle is the guy of the offensive line. And Orlando basically said that, kind of like with every parent, your parent wants you to be better than them. So Orlando Brown wanted Orlando Brown Jr. to be better than him. He wanted him to be that left tackle. He wanted him to be a great offensive lineman. And he felt like since he's being moved out of that position, that he can't, he can't live up to what his dad saw, like his dream of him, like his vision for him. So he felt, not too great about it, and he wanted to be either a left tackle or he wanted to get traded. Obviously, the second happened, and he's now playing left tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs, protecting Patrick Mahomes blindside next to Joe Thuney. And then Austin Blythe in the middle. A lot of people are thinking LDT will start at right guard. I don't know. I think it will be in between him and Kyle Long. And Lucas Niang maybe at right tackle, or maybe Kyle Long kicks out. Who knows? I don't really know if Kyle Long can play tackle, but just kind of an interesting way to see how the offensive line goes. And Creed Humphrey obviously in the center, and then Trey Smith at guard too, also behind them. So, but we'll get into those two guys in a second. So, Orlando Brown, good pickup. I went over that in my full video of him. So 58 overall, Nick Bolton, immediate upgrade, immediate starter, way better. If you guys don't know, you'll know now. I do not like Ben Niemann. Ben Niemann is, I think, one of the worst players on our team. Ben Niemann is so awful. I just went back and watched some old games from this past year, and I was watching the middle of the defense, the linebackers, and Damian Wilson's not bad. He's not on the team anymore though, obviously. Anthony Hitchens, pretty good. Ben Niemann, you stick that guy in coverage, it's like he's like a kid in the mall that lost his mom, right? He is looking around everywhere, does not know who to cover, and when someone starts running out of the backfield, he just freaks out. He just sits there for a second and then he starts running. He reacts too late. Ben Niemann, I think, maybe could be a blitzing linebacker. I don't even know. Ben Niemann as a linebacker is just killer. I do not like Ben Niemann. He's him, and I'll get into another guy that I don't like on the team in a second, because we addressed that position later in this draft. But I think Nick Bolton could start over Ben Niemann. Then again, I think the starting linebackers should be Anthony Hitchens and Willie Gay. Willie Gay is pretty good. He showed up the last couple games last year, but for some reason we still had Ben Niemann in there sometimes, so it's just killer. But I think Nick Bolton can, if he doesn't start, he'll probably rotate in and out towards the middle of the late or end of the year. Who knows? Maybe if Spags thinks he's good enough to start immediately, you could see him in there day one. I wouldn't be surprised, but just a real possibility. And the 63rd pick, which 58 was from the Ravens. This was our original second rounder, 63. Creed Humphrey, center. Now this is where I kind of thought we'd get a wide receiver, but Creed Humphrey was a welcomed surprise. I was trying to think of the best way to say it. Creed Humphrey, really great center from Oklahoma. He was center for Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts. I think maybe even Baker Mayfield, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, because he was a senior this year. Yeah, so Baker Mayfield at one point, and Spencer Rattler this year. He didn't allow a sack, I don't think, last, or maybe his whole career. I can't even remember. But pretty solid center. I don't know if he'll be starting this year, but I think he'll definitely be starting in 2022. If we see anything happen to Blythe, I think he'll go in. But hopefully that shouldn't happen early in the season, because you don't want to. Creed Humphrey being a senior kind of does help if it does happen, because he has more experience than some of the other guys. Not really that I can't even remember. I think it's like the Big 12. Not a lot of great middle pass rushers, but I think he can hold his own if he ever gets thrust in that situation. At number 144 overall was Florida State defensive end Josh Kando. Now, Josh is a weird selection, I think. I think, you know, he didn't really have a lot of tape on him because they're injured, kinda. But didn't really play a lot in Florida State. When he did, he showed a lot of upside. And I think he'll just be kind of a project that, if it pans out, will be a really great 4th round selection. But, you know, seems like right now that's kind of Brett Veach's little thing to spag, is like, hey, this guy's kind of like if you want to throw him in on the other side, Frank Clark, kind of see how it goes. And there's still a lot of discussions about Brett Veach bringing in veteran pass rushers. So Melvin Ingram's still on the list. So is Justin Houston, and if he wants to come back, probably could happen. So a lot of decent choices that could happen. So with number 162, one of my favorite selections in this draft, kind of behind Nick Bolton, Creed Humphrey, Josh Kando is kind of under these next two, but you know, that's because he didn't really have a lot of tape on him, so there's not a lot I could really watch. So with this pick, we took Noah Gray, tight end. I've been starting to call Noah Gray Baby Zeus, Baby Kelsey, because when I was watching him, he kind of like he would do something that would remind me a lot of Kelsey, and I think it's just in his movement and his play style, and he's just, it's so hard to explain, but just like his fluidity and routes and stuff, and after he catches the ball, just how he moves really kind of showed me some Kelsey, and I think it's pretty it's a pretty good fit. I think it will be a pretty good fit. And I think it'd be a good landing spot, especially sitting behind Kelsey. Tight end 2, I think definitely. You know, maybe Blake Bell is in front of him, but I mean, I don't know. That's kind of a big maybe for me. I think Noah Gray definitely should be tight end 2, but I don't choose the depth chart. So kind of up to Andy and all of them, but I think having Travis Kelce, obviously no one's gonna really take his spot until he retires. That's just kind of a given at this point, unless he's retired or injured. Noah Gray, Blake Bell, and this could be like Nick Keizer getting put on the practice squad or something. Now, Nick Keizer last year is like, this is the guy I was talking about earlier. I did not like Nick Keizer last year. He catches the ball, just kind of moves sideways, kind of like Demarcus Robinson, but if you try to do something, he'd fumble the ball, and it was so frustrating. And every time he caught the ball and he was running with it, I was just like, get down, please, or don't fumble. And you know, that's just something you kind of don't want from your tight end or any receiver or player, in fact, worrying about fumbling. But so I think Noah Gray is a great selection here, and should be tight end 2. We'll probably see him a decent amount this year, mostly because Andy likes to do stuff with 2 tight end sets. A lot of RPO play actions out of there that he could be involved in, and just could be a solid backup, and I think he can flourish into a great tight end once Kelsey's gone. Next up was Clemson wide receiver Cornell Powell at 181. Loved this selection. I think the reason why he kind of fell, I'm sure he probably would have went higher if he wasn't 24 or just, you know, kind of older receiver. And I don't know what it is with Clemson and these older receivers like coming out. There's a lot of jokes about Hunter Renfrow being like one of the oldest draft selections. So I don't know what it is with Clemson receivers. Me and Gabe talked about it. I think it's just Dabo Swinney being able to keep his players there for basically to their season or senior season. Holy crap! I can't talk. So Cornell Powell, when I was watching him, pretty good route runner. He does about everything pretty well all around. I mean, he's pretty good at catching the ball, strong hands, really great route runner. Like I watched him, it was against Ohio State, and he was going up against Shaun Wade, and you know Shaun Wade was looked at as one of the best corners in this draft. Obviously, dropped down quite a bit from that, but I watched him run a route against Shaun Wade, and he goes out towards the sideline, comes back in, and this is all like within a yard or two. Like, didn't really take up that much space doing this. He went out to the sideline, and Shaun Wade kind of bit with him. Then he cut back in. Shaun Wade was basically mirroring him at this point, and then he cut back out, and Shaun Wade's just on the ground. And he run, and basically it was just a weird curl route where he just goes out, in, out, curl. Shaun Wade is on the ground behind him, catches the ball, touchdown. It's pretty good. So, I mean, really great route runner, strong hands, decent speed. Is pretty good with the football after the catch, so I think he'll probably be starting outside, maybe slot. If not, he'll probably rotate in. So, and with the last pick that we had at 226, Tennessee guard Trey Smith. Now I think this was a steal. Trey Smith was looked at as a day 2 guy, like early second, third round. That fell because of medical issues. There were, I think it was blood clots. So was like the main concern. But Trey Smith, if he can play, I think, if he checks out medically, I think he'll definitely be starting guard in the near future. Pretty good guard when I was watching him. And I remember seeing he like tweeted something out. He's like, the weak get pancaked, and it's this dude that is like looks like twice the size of him, and he has put him on his ass, like back on the ground. So he looks pretty impressive on tape. I mean, the biggest concern for I think every Chiefs fan, or anyone in this league that would kind of follows the Chiefs, or maybe just wanted to see what they do in the offseason, was protecting Mahomes, and they for sure have done that. Going and getting Joe Tooney, Orlando Brown, and Kyle Long, and it looks like moving Niang out to tackle. Getting LDT back, there are a lot of also, there's a good amount of talks that Mitchell Schwartz might come back and play on another deal with us, so that would be cool also. Kind of just have to see where that goes. Now, when it comes to the division, looking at their draft, I think the Broncos and the Chargers probably have, it's kind of tied between them. I think the Chargers had a little bit better of a draft. They got a lot of players that filled a lot of positions. Rashawn Slater, even though, I mean, it's great value. At where he was. Rashawn Slater was projected to go like top 10. The fact that he was able to drop to number 13, the Chargers didn't have to move up to get him, is great value. They really needed someone to help protect. I mean, they're also building a pretty good offensive line. They went out and got Corey Linsley, center from the Packers. They got a tackle from the Steelers. I can't remember. Tackle or guard, I can't remember. So Rashawn Slater, pretty big pickup for them. Asante Samuel Jr., I'm not saying is a Casey Hayward replacement because I don't know if he'll play, you know, immediately or not. But really great corner where they got him at number 47. Josh Palmer. They kind of need to get more receivers, seems like. Mike Williams, I mean, for where he was taken, like 7th in the 2017 draft, hasn't really played like a 7th overall wide receiver. He's played pretty good. But, I mean, Keenan Allen is above average. Mike Williams above average. I think they're pretty good wide receivers. Not great wide receivers. But that's just my opinion. Probably would get toasted for that. Getting Trey McKitty at number 97. I don't know about that one. I mean, it's an okay pick. You're trying to get someone who can help replace Hunter Henry. I think Hunter Henry is like lost to this offense. Going to be kind of a big one. I mean, when it comes to at least Justin Herbert, because he threw to Hunter Henry quite a bit last year. So, kind of interested to see how going from Hunter Henry to Jared Cook is going to work. But, you know, who knows? Maybe Trey McKitty comes in, kind of balls out. Guess we'll have to find out. Chris Rumpf, pretty good defensive end. You kind of have to find someone to help rush the other side of the line now that Melvin Ingram's gone. So, and Joey Bosa last year, it seemed like he got like really tired a little bit quicker last year, what it felt like. I remember when we played against the Chargers, Joey Bosa was on and off quite a bit, and he was only in on like big downs, like 3rd down and stuff like that. So, who knows? Maybe a guy who's going to play on the line all 3 downs. So, Nick Niemann, brother to Ben Niemann. If he's anything like his brother, terrible pick at 185. Missouri running back Larry Roundtree. I think pretty good pick. Larry was a pretty good running back when he was with Mizzou. Pretty great at breaking tackles and kind of, you know, just being able to break some runs sometimes. But definitely, I think he can be in there, running back 2, running back 3 behind Austin Eckler and maybe Joshua Kelly. I don't know if they're going to have Kalen Ballage back or not. So, and then Mark Webb, don't really know about him, but safety, who knows? Maybe he can help replace Rashawn Jenkins. Next up, these guys. First round, or day 1, day 2, or day 1, it's kind of bad. Day 3, it's okay. With their 17th overall pick, they took Alex Leatherwood. The Las Vegas Raiders took Alex Leatherwood. Now, keep in mind, Christian Darrisaw was still there when they made this selection. And I'm not knocking on Alex Leatherwood or anything. It's just terrible value for where they were picking. They could have moved down and taken Alex Leatherwood if Leatherwood was really their guy. He wasn't projected to go until like day 2. he could have went late day one, but you still could have traded down and at least got some picks if you wanted. It just wasn't the best pick where they were choosing. So that's really, I mean, Alex Leatherwood's a pretty good tackle, just not where they got him. That's just my big thing. Now, day two is pretty good. They got Trayvon Moehrig, I think an absolute steal where they got him. Definitely was projected to go late round, early second, or late first, early second. Surprised the Falcons at least decided not to take him. They took, can you remember who they took? They took Richie Grant, yeah. So pretty good pick. Who knows? Might replace Jonathan Abram. Jonathan Abram didn't play that well last year. So Malcolm Kuntz. Don't really know much about that guy. But he's from Buffalo, so who knows? Maybe he'll be like Khalil Mack, because everyone from Buffalo who plays on the edge seems like gets compared to Khalil Mack. Weirdly. Divine Diablo. I feel like at this point they just take over names. But, you know, Diablo, I mean, Raiders linebackers are okay, I guess. So, I mean, this kind of helps. Kind of a little bit of an upgrade. Now you get back. This is weird when they get later back into the draft, day 3. Because Tyree Glipsy, you already took Trayvon Moehrig. Why are you double dipping in a safety? I mean, you have Carl Joseph coming back. You have Jonathan Abram. You have Trayvon Moehrig now. Unless you're gonna move Tyree to slot corner or something, or maybe Trayvon. It just seems like a weird pick. Nate Hobbs. Then, I mean, they kind of need a corner. Kind of depends on how some of these guys develop. Trayvon Mullen, Damon Arnett. I don't know why I said DeMonte. So, I think corner is kind of a need for the Raiders. I'm surprised they didn't address it sooner. Center. They kind of needed to take another offensive lineman before this because they don't really have. Actually, now I think about it, they only have like one returning offensive lineman from last year. Unless they took back Richie Incognito. But Colton Miller is the only guy I can think of off the top of my head. So, Broncos. They had a pretty good draft. It's a weird draft. But, you know, I'll get into it. Day 1, their first pick, and their only pick. And day 1. Patrick Surtain, the second. It just seemed weird because Justin Fields is sitting right there, and I know they just brought in Teddy Bridgewater, but when you have a talent like Justin Fields, and you guys probably know by now, I'm pretty high on Justin Fields. I think the Bears got a steal. It seems like a weird pick. You have Kyle Fuller, you have Bryce Callahan, you picked that one guy in the 3rd round last year that played, I can't remember his name, Michael something. I mean, you have decent corners, you have a pretty good secondary. It just seems weird that you take another corner. I don't know. I think Justin Fields should have been the pick. But then again, I'm kind of glad as a Chiefs fan because I don't want to be playing against Justin Fields. Number 35, they moved up to pick Javonte Williams. Now, this is a different kind of pick I wasn't really expecting. But for them to move up and get, Javonte Williams is a really good running back. I think he had the most broken tackles in all of college football last year. And That's a pretty good stat. Huh. So, watching him, everyone always brings up the Miami run that he had. I watched that game live. I mean, he did really good that game in general. That whole North Carolina backfield was great. Michael Carter, I think, was a steal for the Jets. I think he'll be a really good running back for them. And I think Javonte Williams will be a really good running back for the Broncos. I think he'll probably be rotating in and out between him and Melvin Gordon. I wanted to say Ingram. So this kind of leaves it up in the air, though. Is Melvin Gordon going to come back next year after his contract ends? What's going to happen? Oh yeah, okay. Wisconsin Whitewater, Quinn Murnez. This is a pretty good pick. I mean, number 98 is not bad. I mean, he's kind of projected day 2, so that's a pretty solid selection. The Broncos' offensive line kind of does need help, so I mean, not a first round pick guy, but I mean, just they have Lloyd Cushenberry, Dalton Reisner, Garrett Bowles. I feel like there's some other guy missing out, but not a bad choice. Baron Browning, pretty good. When it comes to linebackers, there's not really a linebacker for the Broncos that sticks out in my head. But it seemed like the middle of their defense last year was kind of where they needed to, or wasn't really all that great. So this is a pretty good selection. Caden Stearns, safety. Caden Stearns was, I remember at one point, was projected to go as early in the first round. So I mean, not a bad choice. Seth Williams, they already have a lot of good receivers, so I mean, I guess with as many picks as they have, take a shot at another one. Kerry Benson, cornerback at LSU. I don't know, they kind of just double dipped. I mean, especially towards the end here. Ohio State defensive end Jonathan Cooper, and then Mississippi State defensive end Marquise Spencer, or Marquis, I don't know how you pronounce it, but I mean, they had a pretty good draft. So I think it's a toss-up for first. That's kind of a lie. I think it'd be more like a toss-up for second. Unbiasedly, I think the Chiefs are going to win the division. They've won the division like 4 years in a row. And honestly, I think the one really big thing they needed to build last year, I mean, watching back some of the games, was offensive line. Offensive line was a big thing even before the Super Bowl. And it was a big problem. It was different, though, because, I mean, you had Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher both in towards the beginning of the season. So when all those things were happening, just the middle of the line was the worst part of the Chiefs' offensive line. So they went out and they addressed it. They did a great job at addressing it. And I think with some of the people coming back this year for the other teams, Von Miller coming back for the Broncos, Joey Bosa will probably, 100%. I don't really know if he was injured last year or not when we played him. It seemed weird because it's like every time he would only come on in situational times. Well, when we played our one meaningful game against the Chargers. So there's that. The Raiders, I don't really think they had anyone out important. But, Week 5 champions. Love bringing that up. That's funny. The Raiders, they're so weird. I don't know. I don't really see the Raiders going much of anywhere. I think the Broncos are one good quarterback away from contending. So, how I think the division will go: Chiefs, Chargers. They got Justin Herbert, help on offensive line. They have a defensive-minded coach, which I think they needed more than anything. Because they have a lot of great defensive pieces. So I think they'll finish second. I think it'll be close between them and the Broncos. It seemed like last year, every time they played, the Chargers and the Broncos always kind of came close. So, I really feel like it comes up to those head-to-head games. And then the Raiders. The Raiders, they lost basically their whole offensive line this year in the offseason. They watched our Super Bowl and they're like, wow, Derek Carr can do the same thing. And it seems like they just cut all their offensive linemen. They did, except Colton Miller. They traded away Rodney Hudson. They traded away Gabe Jackson. I cannot remember if they kept Richie Incognito. Trent Brown's gone. I honestly cannot remember. I remember seeing Richie Incognito. He might be the only. Okay, yeah, he's still with the Raiders. But he's suspended 2 games. So, the only guy that they have coming back week 1 on their offensive line is Colton Miller, who they just extended. He was a first-round pick a couple years ago. So, Derek Carr had a pretty good year last year. Alright, there's no really looking by it. I feel like this year, if he can't do much, you gotta look towards Marcus Mariota or a replacement. Because you've been riding this quarterback purgatory with Derek Carr for years now, it seems like. He hasn't been the same quarterback since he tore his ACL. He's been decent, but he's just not the same. Derek Carr, before he tore his ACL, was a really good quarterback. But now he's just kind of in this quarterback purgatory. If he's above average, below average. It seems like he rises and falls, and he's inconsistent more than anything. So, this next year, who knows? If they do finish bottom of the division, you gotta see if you can find something, because Derek Carr's not getting any younger. This Raiders team is built decent. They have a great tight end in Darren Waller. They have a really good running back in Josh Jacobs. You have to see what you have in Henry Ruggs. Jesus. There's not a lot of receivers other than him, so just keep building the team, I guess. I think, Marcus Mariota played pretty good towards the end of the year last year, so I think he deserves another shot at a starting quarterback position, maybe at the Raiders, who knows. But if things don't look up this year for the Raiders, I feel like they should look to see, maybe putting Derek Carr out to pasture. Who knows? So, that's kind of my take on how the division will go. It's gonna get interesting towards summertime more, because we're gonna have a lot of teams. I feel like there's gonna be some a decent amount of trades in between now and training camp. We could see Julio Jones get traded. We could see Aaron Rodgers get traded, because the big thing was Aaron Rodgers' contract after June 1st, and it seems like The same thing. I'm pretty sure it's the same thing for about every other veteran who has a big deal that their team is looking to move on from, or getting kind of their arm pinned behind them to do so. So, Julio Jones could get traded after June 1st. Aaron Rodgers could get traded after June 1st. We'll have to just see. Anyway, that's about it really for me. I'll see you guys in some more episodes. I'll be posting Gabe and I's reaction to round 1 of the NFL draft. So, hope you guys enjoyed. And yeah, peace.
Yeah. I'll be here for the night, don't have to think twice. I'll be oh so nice, I have to think twice. I'll be here for the night, don't have to think twice. I'll be oh so nice, I have to think twice. Yeah. I'll be here for the night. Travel far, moving with the seasons, go to Panama, then on to Ibiza. Didn't take that long, had no time for weeping, fingernails like claws on my clothes you keeping. Go store your bag, think it had a reason, can't remember shit, but I got a feeling. Play you all my songs on a blown out speaker, did we work it up? Can't remember either. Running in circles, not feeling okay. Act like imposters, we playing all day. Last night we talked all about holidays. One day we'll get all this, then get away. For the night, don't have to think twice. I'll be oh so nice, I have to think twice. I'll be here for the night, don't have to think twice. I'll be oh so nice, I have to think twice. I'll be here.